Joining us now is Kansas Senator Roger Marshall. Senator, welcome. Thanks for coming on. Obviously, this is incredibly personal to you as you represent the state of Kansas, and we know that that's where the flight was coming in from. So I'm sure you had constituents on board. Could you talk to us about what runs through your mind today and maybe the questions you still have?
Yeah, it's more than constituents. These are friends and family members. I grew up 30 minutes from Wichita. There's only one direct flight out of Wichita to DCA. This is a flight that I'm on commonly once a week. Every time I get on that flight, I probably recognize half the people and certainly know of all of them. So this is a gut punch, and just continue to lift up those family members and pray for them. Spoke with Mayor Lily Wu this morning there in Wichita. She's doing everything she can. I spoke with Congressman Ron Estes. That's his home. Just doing everything they can to support that community. I think for your breaking news this morning, I just want to thank Secretary Sean Duffy, Secretary Pete Hegseth as well. I spoke with Sean this morning, a longtime friend. I said, look, the biggest concern that all of us have are these helicopters in this airspace. This is the busiest runway in all of America, and there's military helicopters in this area. And there was still some confusion around coming tonight. Would they be allowed back in there? And I begged them, please just stop this until we get it all sorted out. And it's going to be a while. There's no reason the military can't fly their missions in other places. There's plenty of Atlantic Ocean one direction. They can go towards Virginia. They don't need to be here. So I appreciate the quick response from the Trump administration.
Absolutely. It is unfortunate, to say the least, that it took 67 lives to get that done, because I know the warning was out there way before about Reagan National and how busy Reagan National got over the years and continued to get, yet the helicopter flying still happened. We even know, again, a day prior, something very similar happened, but that was able to be averted. Wanted to talk about a couple of things that we do know as the NTSB makes their investigation. In terms of that Black Hawk chopper, we know that it was flying at an altitude of above 300 feet. It was not supposed to, per reporting and this preliminary report. It was not below 200 feet, and it was supposed to be. It also was off its approved route, about a half a mile. The only thing we know about the commercial airliner is that it was supposed to go to runway 1, which was the main runway, and then it was told to go to runway 33, which requires a lot of precision on the pilot's part, but yet it was still on its standard path. The only one we know that was not on its standard path was that Black Hawk chopper, at least right now. This is the information that we do have. Your thoughts on that, aside from that, the air traffic controller staffing, where does your mind go?
Yeah, first I want to thank President Trump for just being radically transparent. I think with past administrations, you wouldn't have known those facts. You and I'd be speculating on that particular fact. But I'm not ready to make conclusions. I'm not ready to assign fault. But there is a ceiling not just for that helicopter. It's my understanding every helicopter in this airspace has a ceiling of 200 feet. So when that helicopter went above 200 feet, number one is the air traffic controller should have had bells and whistles going off saying, hey, this is a problem, Mr., Mrs., whoever's in that plane, you're too high. You need to come down. And again, there was not a person assigned to just helicopters that night. Typically, air traffic control has two people, one controlling commercial flights, one controlling the helicopter. So I think that this is absolutely a fact. It's an error. It's a failure. I, again, appreciate President Trump's team taking accountability here, and they're going to correct it. You know, something else people aren't talking about, President Trump hired over 100 of these air traffic controllers his first week in office and is going to hold them to the highest standards as well, and I appreciate that. But you're absolutely right. This helicopter should have never been above 200 feet. We can talk about the night goggles and make some excuses, but there's no excuse that's going to bring back my 67 people who perished on that flight.
True. So true. And again, the fact that now helicopters are not going to be able to fly in the area, you would hope, is a way to prevent something like this tragedy from ever happening again. We heard initially, right after this tragic incident, President Trump called out what he believes to be a problem within the FAA, and that has to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion, a major focus on promoting that instead of what he believes to be maybe the merit or true strong resumes of people who are qualified to work there. So the former Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, weighed in on X, so we wanted to share this with you. He calls it despicable. As families grieve, Trump should be leading, not lying. We put safety first, drove down close calls, grew air traffic control, and had 0 commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch. President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe. Time for the president to show actual leadership and explain what he will do to prevent this from happening again. Senator, could you respond to that? What do you make of President Trump's job?
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg was an incompetent secretary. He was not qualified in the first place. But regardless, just look at the facts. Look at all the executive orders that President Trump did to reverse the situation before this accident happened. That President Trump wanted the highest standards. You know, this is real simple. I know if you're like me, when you walk onto an airplane, you take a little glance over there to see who the pilots are. And of course, now these people look like, to me, they should be in high school, but I know they're well qualified. You want your pilot, you want people in the air traffic control to have the highest qualifications, the highest merit. I've sat in the air traffic control units with these folks. I think it's one of the hardest jobs in America. It requires one of the highest mental capacities in America. I'm a physician, and I thought what they were doing day in and day out, minute to minute, never room for any error, zero tolerance for an error, that they do an incredible job. It takes a special person. I would not want anyone hired based upon DEI, and we need these folks. America expects them to be of the highest standard. If you want safe air travel, then we need the highest level of people in those air traffic control jobs, if that makes sense.
I'm still waiting on that investigation to be finalized. We're being told it could take 30 days. We should have a larger report from the NTSB where we'll continue to bring that information to our viewers. We appreciate the time of the senator from Kansas, Roger Marshall. Senator, thank you.
Thank you.